iPads are the default option for most people when it comes to tablets, but Samsung has a few clever ideas in the tablet space and has just released two new FE tablets selling for around $600. And while the company doesn't have the insane performance of Apple's M series chips, it has a few unique selling points of its own. So these are the Galaxy Tab S10 FE, an 11-inch tablet, and the Galaxy Tab S10 FE Plus, a 13-inch model, and apart from the size difference, they are pretty much the same product. So let's start with the biggest difference compared to the iPad, and that is the screen. Both tablets come with a 16:10 aspect ratio, which makes them a bit awkward to hold at first compared to the more squarish 4:3 aspect ratio on iPads. This, however, is the absolutely perfect aspect ratio for watching video, as it fills the whole screen while we get these big black bars when watching video on the iPad. And this is also the moment to mention Samsung's flagship Tab S10 series, which are a bit more expensive. The new FE versions use LCD screens, while the flagship models come with OLED displays with much more vibrant colors. However, it is not even the OLED colors that I miss the most on the FE models. Samsung's Tab S10 series, the flagship models, come with anti-reflective coating, which I think is the most important display innovation in the past 2 years, especially for tablets. It makes using your screen much easier outdoors or in just brighter settings indoors. It is so good that even though the Galaxy Tab S10 Plus has lower brightness on paper than these new FE models, in the real world, the Tab S10 Plus is just so much easier to use compared to the FE versions because it just eliminates reflections, which are very noticeable and very distracting on the FE models. Now, the FE models also come with a 90Hz refresh rate. This is not quite as smooth as the 120Hz on the flagship Samsung tablets, but that is a really minor thing in my opinion. The difference between a 90Hz screen and a 120Hz screen is small, but the difference between a 90Hz screen and a 60Hz screen is actually very noticeable. And I'm saying this because the iPad Air still runs at 60Hz and looks way choppier, so the Tab FE series have this advantage on their side. Now, in terms of looks, the Tab S10 FE are almost as good as Samsung's more expensive Tab S10 models. They have an aluminum sturdy frame and they're only a tiny bit thicker, but still much slimmer than your average laptop, measuring just 6mm thick. The Tab S10 FE also both come with a fingerprint reader embedded in the power button on the side. Now, I do prefer the in-screen fingerprint of the flagship Tab S10 series. It's just a bit easier to reach, but that's a minor thing. What I really like is that Samsung bundles the FE tablets with the free S Pen, and this S Pen is not the same as the one in their phones. It's actually much thicker and feels nicer in the hand. In many ways, it looks and feels just like the Apple Pencil, but remember, you have to pay roughly $100 for that in Apple's world, and here you get it for free. However, I was really disappointed to see that the coolest Samsung AI feature, which is sketch to image, is nowhere to be found on the FE series. That would have been perfect with the S Pen. So what can you do with this S Pen on the Galaxy Tab FE? Well, you can still annotate documents, scribble handwritten notes, or draw sketches in the Samsung Notes app. And you do have some limited AI features like the Samsung Eraser in the gallery, but that's about it. What you don't get for free with these Samsung tablets is a keyboard case. Now, Apple is known to charge an insane $300 for its Magic Keyboard iPad accessory, and Samsung's alternative is called the Galaxy Book Keyboard Cover, and you also have the Book Keyboard Slim Edition. The difference between the two is that the slim version does not have a trackpad, so in my opinion this makes it quite useless. The regular book keyboard cover will set you back around $200, and in my opinion it's a must-have accessory that converts the Tab S10 FE into a laptop of sorts. Now, there are a few things I like about this keyboard, but there are also a few downsides as well. First, the good news. It's nice having that separate silo for the S Pen. It feels more secure than just a magnetic connection, and you don't have to worry you can lose it somewhere. However, the actual keys on the keyboard don't have much travel and don't feel nearly as nice as the ones on the Apple keyboard. And similarly, the trackpad is not quite as enjoyable to use. So if you're planning to use this tablet as a laptop replacement, I think the iPads are still a better option. Now, some people would criticize Samsung for including a decidedly mediocre Exynos 1580 chip in these tablets. Heck, that's the same processor Samsung uses in the Galaxy A56 phone, a mid-range device. And by all objective measures, this chip is absolutely no match for the M3 iPad Air. Now, it probably is in about the same ballpark as the A16 chip in the base iPad, but in my experience, I did not notice much of a stutter or a slowdown when just casually using the tablet. Now, I'm not much of a gamer these days, but I did try playing Genshin Impact and it ran fairly well. However, I should say that tablets are a bit different than phones. A phone you can keep for 2, 3, sometimes even 4 years, while tablets you tend to keep for 4 or 5 years, sometimes a lot longer, and that processor is just not one to inspire much confidence for such long-term use. Okay, let me switch back to something more positive. Sound quality from the Tab S10 FE Plus is absolutely amazing. I was blown away with the rich sound coming from these speakers with lots of bass and a ton of punch. This thing can get loud without the sound falling apart. And speaking of surprises, the Tab S10 FE series actually gets longer battery life than the flagship Tab S10 models. Samsung says you can get up to 21 hours of video playback, possibly thanks to that more frugal processor inside it, while the Tab S10 is rated for 16 hours, so that's nearly 30% longer battery life on the FE. And both FE tablets also support 45-watt charging speeds, which is again faster than the iPad Air, which supports around 30 watts. Finally, cameras. You have a single 12-megapixel camera on the back, which does a decent job if you're too lazy to reach for your phone. Up front, the selfie camera is positioned on the horizontal side, which is great for video calls, and it supports 4K video too. The quality is nothing remarkable though. So should you buy the new Galaxy Tab S10 FE series? If budget is a top priority and you want something mainly for media and with the proper aspect ratio for watching video, then sure, they get the job done. However, as your main computer, I personally would spend the extra money for a Galaxy Tab S10 Plus, which currently sells for around $900. The anti-reflective screen and the much faster processor on it will ensure you get a device you can keep for the next decade. And about that iPad Air, well, thanks to the M3 chip, it's a much better choice if you plan to edit videos or use your tablet as a full-blown laptop replacement, but it does come at a higher price too. So do you agree with me about the Tab S10 FE series? Let me know your thoughts or experience with these tablets in the comments right below.